Hey traders, it's John Fortune here with this week's Weekly Forex Forecast for the 20th of August to the 24th of August 2018. As always, we're going to start by looking at the US dollar index and oil before running through a number of markets, looking at the key levels of support and resistance in the process. We're also going to be highlighting some of the targets that we're going to be looking for in the coming week and also in the weeks ahead. So without further ado, let's jump over to the charts and see where the money is this week. As always, starting with the US dollar index. Now, last week we came up and we took out the target of 96.78 and we actually bounced from this area and we started to sell off in the dollar index, sort of weakening towards the end of the week in the dollar index. Very simply put, we are looking for further advances in the US dollar index. If we can get a pullback and a retest of the key area of broken resistance turning support at the 95.44, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns, and we're going to be looking up towards the next target that we're looking for to the upside, the 97.04. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside and target set at the 97.86. Now, going into next week, although we are looking for further advances, we may see a little bit of a weakening first if we do get this pullback into the 95.44. Next, we have crude oil. Now, last week we broke below the key area of support at 67.15 as the dollar strength weighed in on oil, and we actually broke down below here. So very simply put, as we start the week below this key area of support, if we get a pullback and a retest of broken support, turning resistance at 6715, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And you can see, for those of you who like your trend lines, although this is a little bit of a wonky one, we have a confluence area here. If we get a pullback and a retest of broken support turning resistance at 6715, this is going to be a great place to once again start to look for bearish formations and patterns. We're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside at 64.28. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 62.55. Next, we have euro dollar. Now, you can see we've come very close to the target we're looking for down here at the 1.12683, and we started to get a bit of reversal in euro dollar as we're getting some profit taking coming after this big sell-off to the downside. So very simply put, if we get a pullback and a retest of broken support, turning resistance up here at the 1.15101, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside and the target set at the 1.12683. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards target 2 at the 1.11259. So the next pair we're going to look at is pound dollar. Now, last week the pound dollar was very similar to the euro dollar in the sense that we didn't really have any major directional moves. We kind of chopped around a bit and we sort of ended the week pretty much where we started the week. So very simply put, going into this week, we are still looking for further declines in the pound dollar. If we can get a pullback and a retest of broken support, turning resistance at the 1.2826, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. We're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside and the target set at the 1.2617. Next, we have the US dollar Japanese yen. Now, the US dollar Japanese yen, as we highlighted last week, has been very, very choppy. We haven't seen any fantastic moves in the US dollar yen for a while now. However, we do start the week down below key area of broken support, turning resistance. We already have a test at the 110.586. Now, with the US dollar index right up at the highs and bouncing off the target last week, there is a chance that we could get deeper pullback to that key area of broken resistance turning support in the dollar index. Now, if this takes place and we see this dollar weakness coming into the markets next week, we could very easily achieve these targets to the downside, even though ultimately we're looking for further advances in the dollar index. So very simply put, if we can get perhaps one more retest of the 110.586, although we're pretty much right there now, this is going to be coming into Monday morning where we can start to look for bearish formations and patterns. We're going to be looking at initiating shorts in the US dollar Japanese yen down towards the next key area of support to the downside and the target set at the 110.02. And if we can get a breakthrough here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target set at the 109.561. Next we have Aussie dollar. Now last week we were kind of in this area here, and again very similar to what we saw in the pound and the euro, we kind of dipped down, pulled back up. We did take out the target to the downside in the Aussie dollar last week at 0.72470, and we bounced from this target, and we're now making our way back up to this key area of broken support, looking to turn resistance at 0.73457. So very simply put, and you can see we have a really nice bear flag pattern here in the Aussie dollar. If we can get a pullback and a retest of broken support, turning resistance at 0.73457, this is going to be a great place to once again start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next target to the downside in the key area of support at 0.71658. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside in the target set at the 0.70978. Next, we have New Zealand dollar. Now, last week we came down, we took out the target, as you can see, almost to the pip, and we actually bounced from this target, and we're making our way now back up towards the previous broken support, looking to turn resistance at 0.66884. So very simply put, going into this week, if we can get a pullback and a retest of broken support, turning resistance at 0.66884, this is going to be a great place to start once again to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts down towards the next key area of support to the downside in the target set as of last week at 0.65440. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside in target set at the 0.64568. Next, we have the US dollar Swiss franc. Now, in the US dollar Swiss franc, you can see we're actually coiling in this range here between the high at the 0.99751 and the low, the bottom of the range down here at the 0.98967. So very simply put, going into next week, because we are looking for further advances in the dollar index, if we get that pullback in the dollar index, we could see this range continuing. And for those of you who like to play ranges, you can play this kind of a range here. However, ultimately, what we'd like to see is a break through the top of the range in this area. If we get a break and a pullback and a retest of broken resistance turning support, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bullish formations and patterns. We're going to be looking up towards the next key area of resistance to the upside in the target set at 1.00412. You can see equally, if we get this break to the downside, we have this structured so that we can trade to the downside on a pullback and a retest at the bottom of the range as well. But because we're looking for overall strength in the dollar index still, we would prefer to get the break out of the top of the range. Next, we have the US dollar CAD. Now, the US dollar CAD will actually start the week below broken support, looking to turn resistance to the 1.30952. Going into next week, the Canadian dollar is actually one of the strongest currencies after the dollar. The Canadian dollar is also a strong currency. And so if we do get, as we said before, that bounce from the top in the dollar index and we start to get a bit of a deeper correction in the dollar index, there is every chance we could see this move to the downside in the US dollar CAD. So very simply put, going into next week, and it would be nice if we could just get through this a little bit more like this would be great. We'd be looking for a pullback and a retest of broken support turning resistance at the 1.30952. If we get this kind of price action, this is going to be a great place to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. We're going to be looking at initiating shorts in the US dollar CAD to the downside, down towards the next key area of support in the target set at the 1.29440. And last but not least, we have gold. Now, last week I did highlight in the forecast that gold was my preferred market, and we had a really, really nice move in gold to the downside last week. Coming to August, there's a reason why a lot of traders take August off. It's because big moves like this can be quite hard to come by in August. However, gold did buck the trend last week and we had this fantastic sell-off to the downside. So very simply put, going into this week, we are still looking for further declines in gold. It wouldn't surprise me if we get this profit taking coming in as we started to see at the end of last week, if we start to get a continued correction, and we're going to be looking for a pullback and a retest of broken support turning resistance in gold at the 1204.73. And if we get this kind of price action, especially if we get a deeper pullback in the dollar index, this is going to be a great place once again to start to look for bearish formations and patterns. And we're going to be looking at initiating shorts in gold once again down towards the target set and next key area of support to the downside at the 1156.50. And if we can get a break through here, we're going to be looking down towards the next key area of support to the downside and target 2 at the 1142.40. So that is it from me for this week, guys. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please let me know by liking, sharing and subscribing. A big thank you to all of you who do that on a regular basis and all of you who comment and have subscribed to the channel so far. I want to wish you all a really nice weekend, and I hope you all have a fantastic week next week. The only thing left to say is take care and don't forget to trade safely.